When people become leaders, they become these ego maniacs with these huge power trips, and it almost changes their personality. The people who have the least amount of experience in leadership. This is what companies don't see. They don't see that these bad leaders are what keep them from growing. You can't grow beautiful flowers and vegetables in shitty soil. Actually, shitty soil is a good thing, but that's compost. It's different. Poor soil, we'll say that. We don't care about your car. We don't care about any of your fancy living, what your big bonus checks are all about. We don't care. Stop being an asshole. Hi, this is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome back to the Morning Mood. As I mentioned in my intro podcast, which actually I'm still recording, I'm like 4 podcasts in and I haven't recorded the intro podcast because I don't know, I just can't seem to get it right. But as I mentioned in that intro podcast, which you will eventually hear, this is not a beauty podcast. You're going to get Kim Raw, mostly in the morning. So just in case you're tuning in for video, I just want to prepare you for that this is not going to be beauty and makeup. In case you missed it, we're looking extra rough today. But there's been something that's really been on my mind and it has been weighing on me for days. And I wanted to get this out and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it with you. And it is about leadership and power. And I do not know why this has been on my mind so much, but it really has. And it's because what I see, and it just really gets under my skin, and I get real mama bear about it, is bad leadership. And when people become leaders, they become these ego maniacs with these huge power trips, and it almost changes their personality. And I see it all the time. And the thing that bothers me the most about it is that the people who do power trip once they get into leadership positions are typically the people who have the least amount of experience in leadership or even just the least amount of experience, period. Like maybe they've worked for one company in their hometown all their life and they make VP and they think that's it. Like they are just the bomb. They have no perception of other companies, other leaders, of everything. It's just their own little world and they start power tripping. And it kills a company. It specifically kills supply chain, which is why it's really been on my mind because I've been seeing it a lot lately. There's a lot of people jumping into supply chain now trying to be supply chain experts. Girl, I've been doing it for 30 years. You better step aside. And they're trying to be experts, right? They're trying to say, oh, I'm a supply chain expert. And they're power tripping because they get a position and they're like, oh, I'm a VP of supply chain now and I know what I'm doing. Or I'm a VP of something involving supply chain and I know what I'm doing. And they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And what happens, it's not even about the person or the personality or their personal attacks of other people. It's that they drag the company down with them. And this is what companies don't see. They don't see that these bad leaders are what keep them from growing. You can't grow beautiful flowers and vegetables in shitty soil. Actually, shitty soil is a good thing, but that's compost. It's different. Poor soil, we'll say that. That's why it's been on my mind because I've seen a lot of it lately. So let's talk about leadership and power. People get a leadership position, all of a sudden they start power tripping. They're like, oh, I'm a VP. You have to do what I say, whatever. And I can do whatever I say because obviously whatever I've been doing, this is my reward. Okay. So that's the first thing I do want to talk about. And this is what I see a lot. I come into companies and I see some bad leadership and I go talk to the executive team about it. And this is almost what I hear almost every time. This is happening company after company. And I go, hey, I noticed blah about so and I think this is a problem. And almost inevitably, 85% of the time, this is the answer I get. Oh, that again? I'm like, oh, this has been a problem before. Yeah, we thought that we had dealt with it. Okay, look, if you have an employee that has a problem, a leadership problem, problem, getting along with other people problem, communication problem, however we want to couch this, whatever we want to call it, don't promote them. Because what happens when they have that behavior, sometimes they fix it short term for a couple months. Sometimes they don't, you have a talking to and they're like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then you promote them anyway. Here's what happens when you do that. You reward bad behavior. That's what you just did. So when you said, "Hey, we noticed that you do this really crappy thing that makes everybody uncomfortable and it's really dragging the company down and we don't want you to do it anymore, but here's your promotion." Basically, you said, "Hey, we don't really like it, but we don't like it enough to actually do anything about it." And so inevitably what happens is that new leader goes back to that bad behavior because he didn't actually fix it. So first and foremost, stop promoting bad leaders. If they have a problem, don't promote them. I don't care if it takes them 5 years to fix the problem. They have to wait until they fix the problem. So first and foremost, stop promoting bad leaders. Just stop doing it. So what makes a bad leader and why do I get so upset about this? And the biggest thing about it is that leaders think that they have all the power. Bad leaders do. And they start attacking problems like they are all powerful and that what they say and what they command and what they demand is it. And that's the end of the story. And that is not what leadership about is about. Leadership is not absolutely 100%, 1000%. I will put money on it, stand on the top of a building and scream about it until I turn blue in the face. Leadership is not about power. And if you are a leader and you're thinking that you have all the power now, you should not be a leader. In fact, you should quit or fire yourself. Because the last thing leadership about is about power. You have no power. You have no power over anyone. You have no more power than you had yesterday before you got promoted. So leaders who go out there and they start power tripping, it is the most I can't even come up with the word. It's too early for me to come up with that word. It's the worst thing you can do to a company, and it will drag down a department and ultimately in a company in a few years. And I have a great example of this. I have a few examples of this, but I have a really great example of it. Leader gets promoted to executive status. They've worked in this company since college. They've been there a long time, and they reach this position that they perceive as being all powerful. And all of a sudden, their communication style changes from collaborative, buddy like, help to I need this, I need that, I want this, I want that. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. Why is that? First of all, why questions are always bad. Those are blaming questions. So never ask a why question. And so they go into this demanding, commandeering sort of personality and they become power trippers. And what happens on the other end of that, and this is what leaders need to understand, what happens on the other end of that is a shutdown because you have shut down the energy and the communication between you and that other person. Any sort of collaboration and brotherhood, sisterhood that you had with them previously is now gone because you are no longer collaborating. You're no longer working together. You are now demanding. And that is power tripping. And that looks like shifting from, hey, I have something going on. How can you help me? How can we get through this? I got this big project coming up. Want to bring you in. Let's work together. That is collaborative. That is a good leader. That shifts to, I need this. I need that. I need an update. Go get me the information. Why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? And when you see that shift from those words, that language, you can see it in words. You can see it in text messages. You can see it in emails. You can see it everywhere. Look for it. That is the shift to the power tripper. So that is about power. That is what leadership, number one, leadership is not about power. Number two, leadership is not about knowing everything. That is the other thing that happens. People get it promoted to the executive status and they're like, now that I'm an executive, of course I know everything. I know best. I know everything. The higher you go, the less you know. That is my motto. Okay. There was a book out there years ago called What Got You Here Will Not Get You There. And the great example of this that they use in this book was Jack Welch. And he had a degree in chemistry. At the height of his career, do you think he was doing chemistry formulations? Absolutely not. His degree in chemistry, while was very valuable at the beginning of his career, didn't really help him at the end of his career or towards the peak of his career. Either way, same thing for me. I talk a lot about, or I haven't talked about yet, I've been blogging about it. We will have a podcast about this because it is also about leadership, is that I am a customs compliance professional. Being able to read the regs, classify products, know what certain regs say right off the top of my head has no bearing on leadership. No one in leadership gives a crap about that unless I'm asking a very specific question. But my compliance expertise has nothing to do with my leadership. In fact, I had to learn how to be a good leader. That had nothing to do with customs compliance. And no one was teaching this, by the way back when. So, as a leader, you don't know everything. So, you don't go around telling everybody that they're doing it wrong, or you want this, or you want that, or it has to be done this way, or it has to be done that way, because you don't actually know. You don't know. You think you know because you have a title and you think that entitles you to know, but you don't actually know. So, leaders don't know everything. In fact, you know less. So, I'm going to say it again: the higher you go, the less you know. And the third thing, and I'm just going to be plain old blunt because it's morning, is being a leader is not about being an asshole, period. No, we don't care about your car. We don't care about any of your fancy living, what your big bonus checks are all about. We don't care. Stop being an asshole. Start caring about people. Start caring about their lives, who they are, what their dreams are. What are they trying to accomplish? I can tell you most leaders, I'm not going to say all, most leaders have no idea what their employees' goals are. Besides what they write in their review every year, right? Oh, I want to get promoted or I want to work on a project. They have no idea what their goals are, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve. So, because they're so wrapped up in their little world about being a leader, okay? And they're being an asshole. And another thing I just want to drop here because I am humble and honest. And I told you guys that this would be humble, honest, and authentic. I fucked up. I wasn't a great leader. I did all this stuff. I did all this stuff. I was an asshole as a leader. I thought I knew it all. I power tripped a little bit. I did it. That's how I know you're not supposed to do it. So I'm telling you, so you don't have to hurt a lot of people's feelings. So this is how I learned it. And with the biggest thing I learned, and goes back to my no conversation, which we will be having, is that the biggest of these three that I learned, because I'm not actually naturally an asshole, so that didn't happen, but maybe a little bit. Anyway, is that what got you here will not get you there. That was my biggest learning out of those three. And that all this customs compliance and logistics and supply chain, all the stuff that I knew didn't really apply to being a good leader. So those are the three things not to do when you're a leader. The three things to do when you're a leader that make a good leader is leadership is a privilege, and you need to accept that and you need to honor it in that way. Leading people, leading a company is an absolute privilege, and you need to treat it that way. And if you feel that you've lost the privilege or you don't feel privileged or you feel some other kind of way about it, you may want to look and see if this is the right place for you to be. Because leadership is truly a privilege and you should feel that way about it when you're doing it. The other thing that good leadership is, it is about creating space for your employees, a safe space for them to flourish. And what that means is deflecting bullshit, taking bullets, keeping them out of the fray, blocking and tackling, anything and everything you can do to help them succeed. That is your job as a leader. You go in and you take it on with the other VPs and the directors and the SVPs and the CEOs and the CFOs. You are the leader. You go in and you throw the punches. You take it in the face. You don't make your people do that. That is your job, is to keep a clean, safe environment for them to flourish, to help them succeed. That is your job as a leader. Taking on those other leaders, and sometimes you got to bring out your asshole because you got to fight another asshole, and that's just the way it works. But that is your job as a leader, is to create a clean, safe space. And when I say clean, not cluttered with lots of demands and people in and out and lots of drama and lots of complaining and lots of negative energy. A clean, safe environment for their work. And the third thing is that when you get promoted to that executive level, when you start climbing that ladder, your number one job is not to reach up for the next rung and keep on going. Your number one job when you go up a step is to turn around Reach down and bring somebody else with you. Help bring them up. And when you teach them that, when you do that for someone, when you turn around and you reach down and you bring them up, you teach them to do that to the person below them. And all of a sudden, you create a chain of success because you have turned around, reached back, and said, "Come with me. Let me help you now. Let me help you reach your next level." And sometimes I'm going to tell you, and it hurts a little bit when it happens, they go on past you, they keep on climbing right over you. Sometimes that happens, and that can be a very good thing. And if that happens, it's an amazing thing because you want your people to be successful. And that means that you gave them their all. Sometimes assholes climb over you too, but that's just the way it happens in corporate. So, those are the three things that really make a good leader. Leadership is a privilege. Your job is to create a safe, clean, creative environment for your team to flourish in, to thrive in, not just survive, thrive. And your job is to reach down and bring someone else up, help everyone climb together. That is what good leadership is about. Leadership is not about power. And if you're sitting around and you're disagreeing with me, first of all, you don't have to listen to this podcast. This is 100% voluntarily. See you later. Two, I think you should take a look at why you're power tripping so hard. And maybe there's a lesson in here for you. So, thanks for tuning in. Leadership is not power. What got you here will not get you there. Reach down and bring someone else up. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you tomorrow.